Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I'm back with a new layout for the Paige Evans design team, and I'm going to be using her Go the Scenic Route collection for today. And I'm going to make a travel layout. I've been eyeballing this paper. It's number 7, and it's got this gorgeous map on it. I just love the colors, and I love how it looks. And this is a photo of me and my husband from a year or two ago, I think. And we had just gotten to Las Vegas, one of our favorite places to go, and so I printed it in color, and I'm going to make it work on this layout. And I wanted to use this paper as a background, but not the entire sheet. So when I have a pattern paper that I love, I don't want to cover it with mixed media. I want to kind of leave it as is, but I also want to add mixed media to my layout. What I like to do is either cut it or tear it and use a big chunk of it as a background. So that is what I'm going to do for starters here. And this is a sheet of textured white cardstock that I'm going to use as the base, and then I'm going to attach this big map paper to it and kind of go from there. And I like how this is looking. I want to focus on the colors in this paper to kind of work in embellishments. And so far this is what I'm thinking. I want to have the photo kind of right there where some of it's on the pattern paper, some of it is on the cardstock, but I want to layer something else under it. I couldn't quite decide if I wanted to have a second layer of the same paper or flip it over and use the darker orange. So I pulled out all the rest of the pattern papers and just started going through, and I decided to go with this paper here. It's a pattern paper. It's got a really subtle pattern on it, but it's mostly this beautiful turquoise blue, and I thought it would just be a nice contrast. And there's a little bit of the blue in the map paper. It's just very small amounts, but I really liked how this blue looked with the orange. It's a nice contrast, but it's still, I feel like it complements the photo and it goes well with the background. So I just tore that, and I'm going to kind of wedge it underneath the map paper here for a second layer. And that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to go ahead and glue this down, and then I'm going to basically just treat this as my background and see what I want to add where, because you know me, I have to add mixed media to everything because it's just my favorite thing to do. So this is going to be an example of how you can still do mixed media while still having a huge chunk of pattern paper that you really just leave alone. So yeah, sometimes I just see papers that are pretty as is and they don't need anything done to them. So for the bottom half where the cardstock is, I'm going to go ahead and prep that for some mixed media, and I'm using clear gesso, and I'm using the Art Basics Finnabair clear gesso. It's very smooth. I love it. And then the brush that I'm using, it's a 2-inch silicone brush, and it was a gift. I know a lot of people ask me about it. You can find them on Amazon. I'm not sure exactly where this one came from, but I have looked on Amazon and they are there. So if you just search 2-inch silicone brush, you will find those. So I went through my embellishments, picked out some pink die cuts and things just to start layering and playing around with. And then I thought, let me turn the layout and see how this would look. And I actually like it a lot better vertical like this, because I like how that little loop of blue, that little half wonky circle there, is perfect to kind of tuck the photo in right there. So I think I'm going to use this arrangement here. So I've got a lot of orange and I've got a lot of blue. So I thought, well, what color should I add to the background? And so naturally I'm going to go with pink, because there is some pink in this matte paper. And my photo, while it is in color, it's got a lot of natural colors to it. There's some gray, some blue, and then our skin tones. So there's nothing really bright or overpowering in the photo. So it's going to kind of go with anything. So I thought for the third main color here, I would go with pink. It stands out against the white, and it's a nice contrast against the blue and the orange. And I'm using shimmers here. I'm using Sweetheart, which is a Vibes, and then I'm using a touch of Pink Stilettos, which is a Colorings. And if you look at the two die cuts there that I have to layer behind the photo, there's some lighter pink and some darker pink. So I'm just trying to get different shades of those two pinks, because a lot of the embellishments are in light pink and dark pink. I'm going to go through the stickers, the chipboard, the die cuts, all the things that come in this kit or in this collection. And I do want to use a couple of the cardstock stickers, but I'm not ready to stick them down. So I'm going to go ahead and stick them to some spare white cardstock that I have there. And then I'm going to cut those out. So they're basically die cuts, and I can move them around because I'm definitely not at the point where I want to stick things down yet. But I do want to be able to move them around and see where they might go. I'm just kind of letting the background dry. I'm going to continue to work on it. So I'm going to go ahead and layer up the photo here. I'm going to layer in some white tissue paper. And this is not special tissue paper. I do get asked that a lot. This is not special scrapbooking tissue paper. I don't even know if they make that. This is just stuff that you could put in a gift. You could buy it, you know, the Dollar Tree, Walmart, wherever. I just like to use it. I like to add it in as a little layer behind the photo. It's very subtle. I like that you can easily tear it or cut it. And I think it just is another little layer behind the photo to kind of help it stand out against the layers in the background. And it's kind of messy and uneven, and I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more of the orange pattern paper behind the photo, as well as these two pink die cut pieces. And yeah, I'm going to wind up adding several things behind this photo here, and I'm just trying to stick to these main colors right now. I'm going to keep working on the background as I go. As it dries, it's going to lighten up some, and I'm going to work on it several times. I'm going to add another piece of the blue pattern paper. The blue pattern paper, I don't think I mentioned, that's paper number 13. I actually pulled this particular sheet though from the 12 by 12 paper pad, but if you don't have that paper pad and you have the loose paper, it's number 13. So I want to kind of make the photo stand out even more. So around the edges of where the photo is going to be positioned, I'm going to smudge in a little bit of white gesso. And this just lightens up the color and the pattern of the paper that I'm smudging it on. And it just kind of enhances the photo. It just adds some lights and some darks. You know, it's just, I don't know, it's just a visual thing. I always feel like anytime you can make the photo stand out a little bit more, definitely do it. Because I never want the photo to get lost in the background. And this isn't going to be an overly busy layout, so I don't feel like it's in any danger of getting lost. But I do like softening up things around the photo, especially if the, you know, paper is really dark or something. And sometimes it makes a difference and sometimes it doesn't. I just always like to attempt it of the idea that's going on in my brain at the time. And sometimes I abandon that idea because it doesn't really make a difference in the end. But you never know until you try it. What you saw me do there was add in a little bit of a Distress Oxide, and that was this Seedless Preserves color. I thought that I might use that to add that darker pink shade, but I wound up not using that again. I just kind of went back to my shimmers, and I'm using the Sweetheart again. I'm going to come back in later again with a different color, a different pink, to kind of add some darks around, basically around the edges of where the photo is going to be. But until then, I'm going to work on layering, and I'm going to pull in lots of florals here. I've got a big chipboard floral. I've got some florals that I fussy cut from pattern paper, and then some that come in the floral die cut packs. Yeah. This collection is just bursting with flowers all over the place, and so it's kind of hard to not use them on a layout using this collection because they're so beautiful and they match everything. And yeah, I'm just going to layer them on both sides of the photo. I'm going to add that travel sticker up at the top, and just keep flipping through everything. I've got the puffy phrase stickers here, and yep, it's just kind of a let's see what we've got at this point and see what looks good where, and then I'll move on to something else. Because sometimes when I look at the things first, I don't see something. So I'll take a break, do something else, come back, and then the second time, or the third time even, when I go back and look at the same embellishments, I see something different. or my brain says, hey, try this here, where it didn't do that the first time I looked at it. So, you know, you have to look at your things multiple times, because your brain sometimes will give you a different idea. The second or third, or maybe fourth or fifth time that you look at something, you'll see it in a different way, or you'll get an idea in your mind of how to use it in a way that you hadn't thought of, if that makes sense. I'm adding in some thread here. I'm going to go with the darker blue on the right, the orange color on the left, and I am loving how this is looking. You can still see the pink mixed media behind there. I'm going to continue to work on that. That's not finished yet. And I'm so far leaving the matte paper alone because, like I said, I like how it looks. I don't want to cover up. I want it to still look like a matte paper, you know? I don't want it to disappear, all those little lines and squiggles and things. So I'm going to glue everything down. I like how these flowers are looking. I like the variation in all the colors. I like all the pinks, the blues. I've got some oranges in there. So I'm going to make sure all that is attached. And the big blue flower on the left is from the chipboard, the 12 by 12 chipboard sticker sheet from this collection. Yep. I'm liking this. I'm liking this a lot. So here's where I'm going to add more to the background. This is the pink stilettos again. And I started to add it and realized that I felt like I needed something a little bit darker because there's a couple of pink things on this layout that's really, really deep. So I went back to my shimmers stash and found pink Moscato. And this one is the perfect match. I mean, this one really looks like wine. I mean, it is a beautiful, deep, deep pink color, and it has some shimmer to it. But it was the perfect color that I was looking for. I should have reached for that one first. But so I'm just going to kind of wedge that in there because everything's glued down, and I'm very, very carefully using the brush, using my fingers to kind of move that color around. And I like how it just basically looks like a pink shadow under there. So I am going to add some splatters. I'm covering up the photo because you know me, I will splatter right onto the face of the photo. So I'm going to cover that up, use the pink Moscato again to splatter. And then I'm going to pull in an orange color that's called, I think it's something sunset. Let me check. I have it right here. I think I have it right here. Maybe I don't. It's something sunset. It's Caribbean sunset, maybe? I'll look it up. If you need to know, remind me and I will answer you in the comments if I forget to list it. But it matches that orange color perfectly in the paper. So I added a little bit of that in. And then here's where I did decide to add something to the matte paper. It's just white splatters. I had to. I don't know. I was just in the mood for white splatters. And I thought, well, if I splatter white on the white side, you're not even going to be able to see it. So I have to do something. I don't know. I just had to do something. So we're just going with white splatters. And I feel like I like how that looks. Still looks like a messy mixed media layout. Sometimes when you do so much mixed media, it's just hard to leave papers alone. It's hard to leave them clean, and I feel like I had to do something. I couldn't stand it. So yeah, all I did was white splatters. I am going to add some blue too. I feel like I'm going against everything that I said in the beginning about leaving the paper alone. I don't think I'm able to do that. And quite frequently, I get challenged to make a layout with no mixed media. Do you guys honestly think I could do that? I'm going to go with no. I don't think I could. I mean, I could, but I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoy looking at other people's layouts without mixed media, and I find them gorgeous and beautiful. But when I'm physically making a layout, I feel like lost without my mixed media. I don't know. It's just, I love making the messes. And when I have to leave something clean, who am I? I don't know. Okay, moving on. We're going to make the title for this layout, and I'm using Paige's Paige font cut file. So this is way back in the day, one of her gosh, I don't even know how long it's been since she's been making cut files, but this one was released a long, long time ago. I'll link it below, but it's called Paige font. And I just created the words "Take Me Back" because that's what I wanted my title to be. And I cut them in the orange and the blue. And then I wanted to cut them again using white cardstock. So that's what I did. So I've got each word in a different color, and I'm going to paint the word back using those deep pink colors. And I am going to add a little bit of clear gesso to it first so the colors can blend and look a little watercolory and smudgy rather than just soaking right through the page. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And so I'm going to have an orange word, a blue word. That's me blowing on it, trying to dry it. We're high tech over here. So yeah, I'm going to go back to that pink Moscato, that really, really deep color, and then just add a little bit at the bottom. And I really like this font. I've forgotten that Paige has a few different alpha cut files. So she's got so many cut files. But yeah, if you are looking for a font by her, this is one of my favorites. She has a few, so check those out for sure. But I'm going to mix and match the pink Moscato with the pink stilettos, and I'm kind of doing an ombre effect where I don't want to cover the entire word just yet. I'm trying to do just the bottom half of this word, and that's all I'm doing is dabbing it, blending it, letting it kind of run. Okay, so right away I noticed that it's really hard to read what the title says because the open spots of the letters, you can see the pattern paper behind it. So to make the letters more visible, I'm going to back the open spots of each word with some vellum. And this is just going to sort of act as a solid, because you know, with vellum you can still kind of see through it, not 100%, but you can, it's just very subtle. And so I'm going to go ahead and just basically back the cut file with the vellum. Just glue it down and then go around with the scissors and cut around each letter. And I'm going to do this with all the words, and it's definitely a lot better. And it's harder to see it here on with my desk lights over it, but in the end it's definitely more visible. And I want to pop up these words, so I'm going to use some adhesive foam here behind the pattern paper parts, and then kind of glue it down. I'm going to glue "Take" kind of on top of the photo there, and I want the title kind of staggered a little bit. So I'm going to glue them close together, but not completely straight. And I really like how the colors turned out on those, because I really wasn't sure what I wanted the title to be. I wanted it to be something travel related, but I didn't want to use, you know, any other colors from, you know, like the thickers or anything like that. And I wanted it to be kind of big because I had all the open space down below the photo. And so using this alpha cut file font was perfect. So I've got that done. I'm going to make sure that it's even. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more foam underneath the word "Take" because it's attached to the photo. So this is what I've got so far, and I'm really liking this. I like that everything is dimensional and clustered. You can still see the mixed media. I wanted to add a little bit more around the edges, so I picked out some more flowers that I fussy cut or from the die cut pack. Some of these I fussy cut from the 6x8 paper pad, and just tucked those in a couple spots so the torn edges of the blue paper and the orange paper aren't so empty. I did use a couple of the charms. I haven't used any of those yet, and those are, I think there are 6 charms in the pack for this collection that you can use for so many things. I haven't used any of them yet, so I thought I'm going to tuck these in and use these as embellishments. So I've got 2 pink ones and then a blue in there, and those are awesome. I am going to add a little bit of pink thread underneath the orange paper here on the bottom section, just for another little bit of texture and a pop of that color, kind of wedge it underneath there so you can just kind of barely see it coming out. I just like the texture from that. I like the little pops of color and interest. So there are the little charms I was talking about. Very dimensional. They're almost like epoxy in these little metal frames, and they have little things that you could use these for the edges of your mini albums and things like that. All right, so almost done here. I'm going to add in my journaling right underneath the title, and I'm going to use a Sharpie, except this one is blue instead of black. Kind of matches that darker blue color, but I do add the date, and I think that's it. Yeah, that's the final layout. I think I still did a pretty good job with keeping the map paper intact without adding too much stuff to it. That was my self-challenge in the beginning, but you know, I gotta add something because it's just in my nature, you know. But I love how this turned out. I really love the color scheme, and I think the flowers are beautiful as always. It's hard to top Paige Evans florals because they're so gorgeous. But I hope this gives you some ideas to try. I hope this inspires you to maybe create a travel layout, because this whole collection is filled with travel stuff. And so that's why I was inspired to use that map paper. There are actually a couple of map type papers in this collection. But anyway, let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys in my next video. I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you so much for watching.